Before we dive into this amazing story, please tell us where you are watching from. If this story fancy you, consider subscribing. Thank you. My name is Margaret, but most people call me Maggie. I never thought I'd be telling my story to strangers, but betrayal has a way of leaving scars so deep. You either stay silent and drown, or you share it, hoping someone out there understands. I used to think that life had finally given me a second chance. I wasn't born into privilege, and for many years I lived a modest life, working hard to provide for myself after losing both my parents too soon. I had almost given up on the idea of marriage and family when I met Richard. He was a widower, gentle and kind, with eyes that carried both sorrow and hope. More importantly, he had a daughter, Chloe, who was just 16 at the time. When I first met her, she looked at me with suspicion, the way any teenage girl would when another woman entered her father's life. But I didn't rush her. I knew trust wasn't given freely, it was earned day by day. So I showed up. I cooked dinner, I helped with her homework, I attended her school plays even when she told me she didn't care if I came. Slowly, she began to soften. I still remember the night she knocked on my bedroom door after a fight with her best friend. She sat on my bed, tears streaming down her cheeks, and let me hold her. It was the first time she called me Mom, and my heart nearly burst. From that day on, I wasn't just Richard's wife. I was Chloe's mother in every way that mattered. Years passed and our bond only grew stronger. We shared laughs, secrets, even arguments the way real families do. I was there for her first heartbreak, the day she didn't get accepted into her dream university, and the night she called me screaming with joy when she landed her first internship. Richard often said, "Margaret, I don't know what I did to deserve you, but thank you for giving my daughter her smile back." By the time Chloe finished college, I had dipped into my own savings to help her pay tuition, just so she wouldn't drown in debt. I didn't think twice about it. That's what mothers do, right? They sacrifice. Sadly, Richard, my dear husband, passed away. He was diagnosed of cancer that didn't show till it was too late. Chloe was a mess, but she had me to turn to. I made sure I fill in as her father and mother. 3 years later, Chloe got a job in a tech company. The pay was high and fulfilling. When Chloe introduced me to Daniel, her boyfriend, she was glowing in a way I hadn't seen before. He seemed charming, ambitious, and madly in love with her. When they got engaged, I was among the first she told. "Mom," she said, holding out her ring for me to admire, "I need you with me through all of this. Dress, shopping, planning, everything. I want you right by my side." My eyes watered and I hugged her. In that moment, I thought I had truly made it. I had a daughter who chose me, even though I hadn't given birth to her. For months, we planned together. We spent long afternoons flipping through bridal magazines, sipping tea as we argued playfully over centerpieces and color palettes. I helped her pick her wedding gown. The moment she stepped out of the dressing room, draped in white satin with delicate lace on the sleeves, I cried like a baby. She rushed to hug me and whispered, "Thank you for being here, Mom. I couldn't do this without you." I believed her. The day of the wedding arrived and the venue looked like something out of a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, roses lined the aisle, and a string quartet played softly in the background. Guests filled the hall, all dressed to the nines. My heart swelled with pride as I looked around. This wasn't just Chloe's big day, it felt like mine too. I wore a navy blue dress that Chloe herself had approved weeks before. As I entered, heads turned and smiles greeted me. I walked toward the reserved family seating, ready to take my place as mother of the bride. But then everything changed. Chloe approached me in her gown, radiant as ever. At first I thought she was coming to hug me. Instead, her expression hardened, and with a voice loud enough for the nearest guests to hear, she spat the words that shattered my heart. "Go away, your kind is forbidden here." The music seemed to stop. Gasps echoed around us. I froze, my mind struggling to process what I had just heard. "Your kind," I whispered, my voice trembling. She didn't even meet my eyes. She turned her back to me as if I were nothing more than a stranger who had wandered into her perfect day. Guests began to murmur, "Isn't that her stepmother? Oh, so she's not real family. How humiliating." Every whisper was a dagger in my chest. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask her why. After all the years I had loved her, cared for her, sacrificed for her, how could she discard me so easily? But instead, I did what dignity demanded. I lifted my chin, smiled widely, and walked out of the hall. I went home, locked myself in my room, and cried until my body ached. I replayed her words over and over. "Your kind is forbidden here." What kind was that? The kind that raised her, the kind that sacrificed, or simply the kind that wasn't tied to her by blood? For days I sank into despair. I wasn't ready. My heart was still bleeding, but slowly through the haze of pain another feeling began to rise, cold, steady, sharp. I gave myself time to heal from such betrayal. I needed closure on why she did what she did, but on a second thought I didn't ask. Whatever her reasons were, I didn't care to know. Even if I knew, the betrayal and pain wouldn't hurt less. But I was going to teach her a lesson. A child I had sacrificed so much for, threw it all to my face. If Chloe saw me as nothing, then nothing was what I would leave her with. You see, Chloe never realized just how much of her world rested on my shoulders. The education she bragged about, I co-signed her loans and paid off the balance with my savings. The lavish wedding she flaunted, half the bills were covered by me when her budget fell short. Even the job she held at a prestigious firm, that opportunity came from one of my oldest business connections who trusted me enough to recommend her. Chloe thought she was building her empire on her own. In truth, I had laid the bricks beneath her feet. And now I was going to pull them out. I started small. First, I withdrew my financial backing from the bank loans I had guaranteed. Overnight, Chloe was swarmed with calls from creditors demanding payments she couldn't afford. But I wasn't finished. I reached out to my business contact, the one who had hired Chloe at my request. I told him everything. That I could no longer vouch for her character, that she had humiliated me in public, that she wasn't the trustworthy young woman he believed her to be. Within weeks, Chloe was called into her boss's office and escorted out with her belongings in a box. All of this I did in silence. No arguments, no confrontations, just quiet, calculated moves. It didn't take long for Chloe's perfect little world to crumble. The marriage, barely months old, was strained under the weight of debts and unemployment. Daniel, once smitten, grew distant and resentful. Their love story quickly soured, replaced by shouting matches and cold silences. And then, as I expected, she came knocking on my door. When I opened it, Chloe stood there, her once flawless appearance now disheveled. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her voice hoarse as she whispered, "Mom, please, I need your help." For a moment my heart almost softened, almost. I let her speak. She admitted that she had only humiliated me to impress Daniel's wealthy family. She said she thought distancing herself from her stepmother would make her look more respectable, more pure in their eyes. She said she didn't mean it. I listened, I even nodded, and then I smiled. "You once told me my kind was forbidden in your world," I said quietly. "Now you see without me your world doesn't exist." Before she could respond, I closed the door. That night I sat in my living room, staring out the window, feeling a strange mix of sadness and satisfaction. I hadn't screamed, I hadn't begged, I hadn't fought. I simply walked away from her wedding with my dignity intact, and in doing so I left her to collapse under the weight of her own cruelty. She thought she had destroyed me, but in the end I was the one who destroyed her, without ever lifting a hand.